Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. I have a great one for you today, the thrash metal classic War Ensemble by Slayer. We're going to take a look at this thing note for note, all the way through the whole track, through the solos, through all the riffs. So get your picking hands ready because this one hurts. There's a lot going on. All right, before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you'll know when I release a new video, and check out my Guitar Academy. Right now I'm offering a free 7-day trial. You'll see the link in the description to my Guitar Academy, which contains all my guitar courses covering everything from, guitar tone to technique to improvisation, ear training, theory, all sorts of stuff. So please go check it out. There's a free 7-day trial that you can do right now. All right, so let's jump into it. We are in E-flat tuning. So every string is down a half step on the guitar, so we can follow along with the actual recording. And like I said before, we've got some serious thrash metal riffs going on here. So make sure you are warmed up. All right, so we're going to start with this main riff here. All right, so what's going on? Well, first of all, you're just pretty much doing straight 16th notes in the picking hand. And he does a quick pull off from 3 to 1, and then when you get to the 0, you're back with the picking, the 16th note pickings. So kind of. So we have the. So do that a few times. And then jump up here and grab the power chord at the 6th fret off the low E string, then the 5th fret. So we have this. And then back to that riff before. And then after just doing it a couple times, we have this. Evil stuff, man. So we have open E string, then the 3rd fret on the low E. This is pretty heavily palm muted too. So we have this low E, then the 3rd fret on the low E. Then we're gonna play 2-1 on the A string. And then the open E again. Then 3-2-1 on the low E. So all together. Repeat. All right, so now we have, that's, live at least Kerry King plays that part, and then the little chord hits underneath it are done by Jeff Hanneman. So we have this is what he's doing. And then it goes into, so it just starts with the G power chord off the 3rd fret there, then 6, 5, then back to the 3rd fret. And then it kind of pauses, and then it does another 6, 5 there, and then he just joins it with the riff. All right, from there we have the chorus riff. Now, this is kind of an abbreviated version of the chorus riff. It's 80% of the chorus riff. Anyway, it sounds like this. All right, so open low E string there. I'm gonna call it low. I know it's an E flat, but we're not gonna bother with that. So open low E, open E power chord. Then play the power chord off the 3rd fret of the low E down to 2. So let's go 0, 3, 2, then 4-3, and then at 7-6. Get that 6 twice with this. So you hear I'm hitting the low E between them. Get it. And then we basically do the same thing, except we move the power chords. Except that we had the first power chords the same, and the low hit as well. But now the power chords, just move them the same frets, but move them over to the A string. So, and when you're hitting that hit in between, it's still on the low E string. So this. Then we pretty much start over again. But the second time through here, when you move the chords over to the A string power chords, you're going to move basically the first 4 power chords up a fret each. So instead of going 3-2, 4-3, we start at 4-3 this time and go 4-3, 5-4, then the same 7-6 to end it. So it looks like this. So that's just the second time around those power chords that happen on the A string. So all together for that riff. Fret higher, except for the last 2. All right. So that is part of the chorus. There's a little beginning to the chorus that they don't play the very first time you hear that riff. So that's kind of the last 80% of the chorus riff. All right, then we get to the verse. All right, so the verse riff, very quick stuff, looks like this. So you basically want to keep that 16th note where muted hits, kind of alternate picking on the low E string as much as you can. And you're kind of doing this pedal underneath it. So you're just kind of holding that note and playing this. So those notes are just the 3rd fret on the A string, then a 6, 5, 4. When you see them play it live, they do it a lot looser, like kind of just going, not really trying to get it as like machine gun like. All right, so that is gonna tire you out a little bit. And then it goes from this riff, it goes back to the main riff. So it kind of just has that little ending. It just goes back to the main riff a couple times. And it shows us basically hit an open E power chord 7 times. So that's when you go back into that main riff again real quick for a couple times right out of that verse. Then we go back to the same verse riff again. Know what I'm saying? All right, so you go back into that, and then out of that we go into the chorus. Now this time it's the full chorus riff. All right, so that's what I meant. You probably saw that little intro that I did to it. So we have this, basically we start with the same first half of the riff, the chorus riff that we did earlier. And then you go back down to a low E power chord and kind of chug on it for a bit. It's all downstrokes there. Then you do that again. And then you start chugging on that E again, but like halfway through of playing on that low E, move it up to this E power chord at the 7th position. So that's the 7th fret on the A, 9th on the D, and 9 on the G. Kind of open it up a little bit. So that beginning of that chorus now. Now from here, we play the riff that we did earlier, the chorus riff at the beginning of the song. All right, so so both of those together now actually make up the real chorus to the song. So from now on, when you hear that riff, you're gonna hear that kind of opening part now to the chorus. All right, so now we have the Jeff Henneman's solo. Before we get into that, we're going to take a look at the rhythm guitar parts underneath the solo real quick. So let me play through those real quick for you, and then I'll show you how to play them. All right, so that's kind of just quick 16th note picking again of the F sharp power chord here at the 2nd fret of the low E. And then quickly go up to 5, then to 3. Then back to 5, and back down to 2. So we have this. Then back to 5. That 5 is always kind of just a little quick little passing chord. And then 3, 1. So we have this. Then repeat. And the last time you hear it played, it just does this. Hit that 3 once, then the 1 once. So we had this. All right, so now let me take a look at Henneman's solo real quick. This solo is going to have little parts in it that are, you know, kind of a lot of whammy bar stuff. That's not going to be the most recreatable thing in the world. But I will do my best. So here we go. All right, so now we start here with a bend here at the 3rd fret with a pinch harmonic on the G string. So you should bend up, catch it with a pinch harmonic there. And then you hear it without it. And then he does this kind of a symmetrical line. So it's just kind of, he does like 2, 3, and then up to 5, 3, 2 on the G. And that 5, 3, 2 is a pattern that he sticks with. He does it again twice on the D string, so just 5, 3, 2 descending. And then again on the A. And then I think once on the low E. So when he gets down here to the low E, it gets really kind of jarbled sounding. Jarbled, that's probably not even a word. But we have, and it sounds like he ends on this note, at least. So on the way back up, I'm thinking it's probably just an A minor scale, it sounds like, but it's, like I said, that part you cannot really hear. It's so heavily palm muted. It sounds like he ends up there. I know he ends up there, but how he gets there exactly, it's kind of hard to pick up because it's so muted and low in the mix. So what I'm doing, when I get down here, I shift up to the 5th fret here and play an A minor scale, A natural minor. So just play 5, 7, 8, heavily palm muted on the low E, then 5, 7, 8 on the A, then 5, 7 on the D string. That's what it is. All right, so that's about the best because, like I said, the bottom of that run is really hard to pick up. From there, we go into a bend at the, you can do it at the 10th fret. At the 10th fret there on the B string. And he does some whammy bar at the top of the bend, and then he'll go back down to that 3rd fret on the G string. And then do some whammy bar stuff on that too, kind of pulling up the bar. And then the open G string, a little bar dive in there. That's the way it is. Okay, and then he goes back into kind of the same lick he did before. So it's kind of the same thing. And then come back up through A minor scale. But it sounds like he kind of extends it at the very end. So he gets to that, this 7th fret. So you make it back up. And it sounds like he kind of keeps going like this. So kind of 7th fret there on the D to the 5th fret, back to that 7th fret, back to the 5th on the G, and then 7, 5, 7 into the 9th fret there on the G. So kind of like. So he ends there. Now he does a bend here. A whole step bend there at the 9th fret there on the G. And then we have a series of he does some slides up the B string. So, and he does a bar dip before each one. So the actual notes he's sliding to is the 7th fret there. You can do whatever string you want. I can't really see him play the solo like he does on recording live. So where he's doing this exactly, who knows? But so 7, and then 11, 15, and 19 on the B. So while he's doing that, he's going to do a little bar dive before each one and kind of scoop into each one. Fun stuff. All right, so that's basically the end of his solo. So I'm going to now put this guitar back into tune and then we'll keep going with the song. All right, so coming out of that solo, a Jeff Hanneman solo, is the chorus again. So the same chorus riff, the regular chorus riff. With that kind of extended beginning to it. So we have that, and then we get to probably my favorite riff of the song, probably many people's favorite riff of the track. I guess we can call it a bridge section. Anyway, it sounds like this. Anyway, that part rocks. All right, so that riff moves around quite quickly. So we have a lot of fourths going on here. So open low E string, then you're gonna play the 8th fret on the A string and the D string together, then go down to the 7th fret on the A and the D. So that's the pattern. We're just gonna take those two fourth shapes, move it around a little bit. So we always have an open low E string, and then 2 fourths. So that's when they're on the 8th fret of the A and the D and the A and the E. So the A and the D, and then the 7th to begin with. Then we have that open E again, and go down to the 4th shape now. The rest of them are going to be on the low E and the A string. So the 6th fret and 5. So then the open E again, then 8, 7. So you're playing both of those strings, and then open E again, and then play 7, 6. So can't get more ominous than that. And then we have this. So the first time through the riff, that little ending, it's 3 chords. It's always kind of a 3-chord ending there. We have this. So the first one is a power chord off 3, 5, 6 off the low E. So then we do the same riff again, just a different ending. This time, instead of going 3, 5, 6, we go 3, 6, 4. So different power chords to end it. So all together so far. All right, we'll keep going with the same riff again, just kind of a different ending again. So this ending now is going to go the power chord at 6, 4, 3. And then one more time with the riff. And then take it down to the first power chord at the 1st fret hit twice. So that's the full riff. So basically you play through it 4 times, and you have a different ending each time. And as soon as you get to the end of that 4th ending, that's the riff, complete riff, 1 time through. And you're going to repeat it again. So we have this. Repeat. All right, then we get to a kind of an easier section. Let's listen to some of this. So if those chords look familiar, it's the same endings that we had in the previous riff, that little 3-5-6, then 3-6-4, then 6-4-3, and then the low F power chord. It's the same endings, just kind of hanging around a low, after you kind of chug on the low E chord, E power chord first. And then the first ending there, 3-5-6, and then back to the E, then 3-6-4. Same endings. Then 6-4-3, then 1. 1-1-1. Then back to that really cool riff. Kind of hang out again. Same riff. Okay, so at the end of this, after you play that riff a couple times, basically you want to think of this as there's a hit on an upbeat real quick. It's a pickup real quick, we'll say that, of the low E power chord. So just one by itself. And then there's 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You do that 8 times. So you basically want to think it's 4 hits 8 times, but there's a one little one hit pickup. So that kind of builds up, leads into Kerry King's solo. All right, so we have, for the solo, pretty simple rhythms that are going underneath here. So we're basically, you're just going to be like, the first half of the solo, kind of keep that going, and then it goes into the chorus. You know, kind of, so you'll know what it is when you hear it. So it's basically, you're just kind of the beginning of the solo when he's doing all this tapping. Kind of just chugging around on that low E, and then we go into this the same kind of riff that happened in the chorus. All right, so now let me go through Kerry King's solo for you real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it note for note. Here we go. All right, fun stuff. So this solo is, we can get note for note. It's pretty well put together there. So we have all right, so we're gonna be doing this kind of tapping pattern. You're gonna be tapping the 8th fret on the low E, and then the notes in the left hand at first are gonna be 4 and 5. So it's kind of a common tapping pattern. You're gonna tap the top note, pull off, then tap again. It's kind of a double tap. Then pull off to 4, open E, hammer back up. And then we basically do the same pattern, we just change the notes that we're tapping. We're tapping here. By the way, I keep my pick here, just kind of hold it with my middle finger if you're trying to figure out where my pick went. So we have 7th fret there on the low E string. then 5 and 3 in the left hand with the same pattern. Kind of pulling off to the opening. So. And then we're going to move up to starts trying to like kind of a diminished type thing he's doing. And he moves it up 3 frets at a time, so that makes sense. So we have this tapping 10 fret, and the notes on the left are 7 and 4. So 4 times on it there. Then move everything up 3 frets. So this goes to 7, 10, and this goes to 13. A couple times there. And then move everything up 3 frets again. So this is 10 and 13, and this is 16. And then there's a little kind of a gap. It sounds like he might take the pattern across, but you can't hear it too well. But I'm going to maybe keep it the same pattern since he's kind of staying consistent with it. So after you've gotten here, right here, just do it one time here. And then here you might do it, maybe tap this 15 and play 9 and 12 in this hand. So just do it real quick, but I'm not sure if that's it because there's kind of just a little bit of noise there. You can't really tell what's going on. And then until you can hear it when he gets back to the pattern here, 15, 9, 12 on the D string. And what he does, kind of mess around on those, kind of hold it, and then there's a hammer on between from 10 to 9 there on at the G to kind of start this next section, which is a picking lick. So you got to grab your pick again, and we have this. All right, so after you do that, kind of holding on that G there. Just a simple, kind of a common picking sequence. We're going to start it though with a hammer on from 14 to 16 on the G, and then play this. 13 on the B, back to 16 on the G, back to 13. So that's the note, the pattern where you play a note in the scale, go back 1 note, and then go back up. So it's a 3-note pattern. And then we basically move to the next note up in the scale, which is the 15th fret, and play that same pattern. So 15, then go back to the note right, just lower to it, and then back to the previous note. So we have this. Then we keep doing that same pattern going up. So now we go up to the 17th fret and do the same thing. 17, 15, 17. Then up to 13 on the high E. Down to that 17. And then back up to the 13. Then 15, 13, 15 on the high E. And then 17, 15, 17. Into a bend. So we have. And that goes into some double stops, which look like this. There's a quick little open high E in there. So those double stops are 15 on the G, 17 on the G string, 18 on the B. So kind of tremolo pick those 2 strings, then take everything down 1 fret to 16 on the G, 17 on the B. Then down 2 frets to 14 on the G, 15 on the B. And then 12 on the B, 13 on the G. Then that open high E string. And now we have this little picking sequence that sounds like this. All right, so the first time you hear this played, he's doing. You might hear that G sharp, but it's the first time he plays it. He's playing G natural. So we have this. So he's playing that 17 a few times. kind of tremolo picking it, and then play 15, 13. And you kind of tremolo picking even those 15s and 13s, so it doesn't mean you're hitting each note just once. You might, it's kind of like, so the melody these time in the left hand by these tremolo picking in the right hand. So that first time you hear it is 17, 15, 13. Then we start going sharp in that G. So then we go 19, 17, 16. So same pattern, but 19, 17, 16 in the left hand. And then 16, 13, 12. And then he descends after a couple times. 15, 13, 12 on the B, over to 14 on the G. So we have this. All right, and then he's going to end it with this last kind of pentatonic lick and some unison bends. All right, so this is another common pentatonic. So very common lick. So it's based around E minor pentatonic, and we're going to have 15. It's the same lick we did before, by the way. So it's just based around a pentatonic here. So 15, 12, 15 on the low E. And then the next note up in the scale, 12 on the A string. So do that note, go down a pitch to the 15th fret there on the low E, back up to that A. Then 14, 12, 14 on the A. Heavily palm muted like I'm doing. And then over to 12 on the D, back to 14 on the A, and then back to that 12 on the D. Then 14, 12, 14 on the D, to 12 on the G, to 14 on the D, back to that 12. Kind of continue that same pattern, 14, 12, 14 on the G, and then over to 12 on the B, 14 on the G, and back to that 12. Cool stuff. So if you palm mute it, that lick always sounds really killer. So then we have a unison bend. So you're holding the 12th fret on the high E string and bending up the note on the 15th fret on the B up a whole step. And then take that same thing up to the 17th fret with a 20 on the B, and up 2 more frets, 19th fret, and then a bend, a whole step bend at the 22nd fret on the high E string. All right, so after that solo, we have another riff. We're going back to the verse, but it's a little bit different in verse riffs, kind of a variation on it. Same rhythm, but just a little bit different thing going on in the left hand. So listen to this. So that's basically that same rhythm, but you're playing basically the fourth intervals again. So you start here at the low E, the second fret there on the A and the D together. And then doing those 16 notes just on the low E string the whole time. So it's the same pattern. So it's that same feel, except instead of doing, we're gonna do this. So the second fret on the A and the D, and then the 5th fret on the A and the D. Then 4, 3, and between all that, you're gonna be doing those, instead of 3rd fret, the low E opus or whatever. All right, then from there we go back to the chorus, the full chorus, and then we have this ending, which is based off of the main riff again, the intro riff. Sounds like this. All right, so that's that same riff up here to the same power chords, and then back to the exact same thing again. So you don't do that. So this. And from there we have this 1, 2, 3. Just hit open E power chords, and then just a quick first fret power chord, and then E power chord. So all together. All right, great track, great fun to play. Pretty intense though to get through it the whole way through. But if you do, you just build some muscle. Get the big biceps if you can get through it. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.